one and I stand on that. You and me, babe, that's black on black.
Harper is here. He is running for the United States Senate. We need somebody like him in the United States Senate. We absolutely do. If you're in Michigan, hello. Hi, Michigan. 866-801-8255. Speaking of Michigan, Rashida Tlaib, who is a representative, and she's been catching a lot of flack because she's the only Palestinian in Congress, the only Palestinian American in Congress. And we're in a very interesting time. And to not be able to speak out vociferously against what looks to be inhumanity is, to me, part of the problem. And for her to be censured, she was a few weeks ago, last week, and for somebody to come to you and offer you $20 million to run against her, how did that happen? And you were quick to say no, but did you even was there a moment of
No. But let me say real quick, because Karen, this is important. Even if you don't live in Michigan, the U.S. Senate and all the legislation and all the laws we pass in that body impact you because it's federal legislation. So don't think, your Senate seats are actually national seats. It's just that each state gets two. Now, that's why having support from folks all over the country is critical at hillharper.com. Please, 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 because representation matters. And whatever we do in the U.S. Senate is going to impact you the same way it's going to impact folks in Michigan as well, because it's federal legislation. Now, with that said, going to your question about the Congresswoman is the only Palestinian member of Congress, Palestinian American member of Congress, and she has her specific views from her lens and her experience. And I think that matters. I think representation matters in a good way. We want as many different people and voices to be able to be represented. We all don't necessarily have to agree, but we all should, just like Shirley Chisholm said, we all need a seat at the table. And so the problem with that phone call and that $20 million offer is not just about one call. It's about the fact that our system allows it. We're one of the only countries in the world, as far as our democracy and the way our democracy is shaped, that are so-called free electorate democratic countries, where a call like that would even happen, because most other countries have systems in place that don't allow money to have that level of influence in the electorate process, right? And that's what I said when we were in the break before about the impact of the Citizens United ruling, that call happens, and then we have to definitely ask ourselves how many politicians that are representing us have gotten that call and said yes, right? That call happens because money impacts the outcome. And the fact that a call to me where the caller and their influence or what they want to see happen, they would have gotten a twofer. They would have gotten me to drop out of the U.S. Senate race running against a candidate that they support, to target a candidate that they don't support. And I'm not a politician. I'm not bought. I won't be bought, bossed, or bullied by anybody. I won't, because that's not why I'm running. I'm running to represent the people, not running to represent special interests. I want to be the people's lobbyists, if that makes sense. I want to run to disempower people in their ability to make those calls. So I would never accept that call, no matter who they wanted me to target.
Who's your political blueprint? Whose footsteps are you walking in, or who do you imagine yourself as? Or have we ever seen anyone like you in Congress or in the White House? Because I feel like that's
Listen,
next.
I mean, I
Right.
don't want to get trolled on the online, on the internet by saying something. People like this guy thinks he got da 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 da. So let's take a couple. I'm gonna give a mashup so no one can
But
say
there's
he just thinks.
somebody though, because you're smiling. There's somebody
Yeah,
in your
there there
head.
there are
Let's
individuals.
pretend nobody's listening. It's just me and you.
Okay,
Just me and you.
so in my um in my kind of fantasy world, I would be a mashup of Dr. King and Bobby Kennedy. Um,
Okay. All right.
and with a little bit, since he's an actor, a little bit of Zelensky, right? Because
Oh,
he was in he
oh.
was in
I don't know. I don't know. I think you'd be better just putting Harry Belafonte there instead of Zelensky.
I'll take
I'm just,
Harry. I'll take
yeah.
Harry.
They take
No,
Harry. Yeah,
but what I'm saying,
Zelensky's complicated.
Harry never served in an elected office. So, Vladimir Zelensky, because the reason why I say that, Karen, is that a lot of people say, man, you're an actor. What gives you the ability to lead? And people see Vladimir Zelensky as a good leader, and he's been an actor and a comedian his whole career. So I was just making that connection.
All right, because I don't know where I sit on these things. I don't know what to believe anymore. I don't know who's good and who's not. I don't know what side.
And
I
that's
want to be
true.
on the side of humanity across the board, but I don't know who's being inhumane. As I watch Africans get pushed to the back of the bus trying to get out of Ukraine when this started, and
Yes.
Russia's bad, China's bad, everybody's bad. I don't who's
Yeah.
good. So
And
I'm just gonna lean into
look what's happening in the Congo.
Congo, yeah,
And you're
Haiti.
talking
We're
about
not even talking about Haiti. Every day,
Haiti.
which we should be.
Really, but that speaks to the point, Karen. There are so many people who are suffering that what should our barometer be? And this is a wonderful discussion because if we think about our government, the government has to be a simple barometer, help people, give opportunities, and provide a safety net. It's not to tell people how to live, it's not to control people, it's to expand freedoms, not limit them. And how do you do that? You make sure, I have a quote that people pull out of my book, The Wealth Cure, all the time. You can't be free if the cost of being you is too high. So you
Mm,
mentioned Gaza. I live in Detroit, right here. All of Gaza and the city of Detroit are basically the exact same size. And I want people to imagine this because when they see Gaza on, you see the map on cable news, you imagine some big country. It's the size of Detroit, about 148 square miles. That's all of. I'm not saying Gaza City is the size of Detroit. I'm saying all of Gaza is the size of Detroit. Think about how I would be and feel if there were bombs zooming over my head in the city, hitting the north end, hitting over here, and they're telling me go to this part of Detroit, go to that part of Detroit, all of this, and when I can't get out of Detroit. And so the point is that let's think about humanity. At the same time, Hamas's acts were atrocious and vile, and they're a terrorist organization, and the people who did that should be brought to justice. But you can't at the same time say that even if people are using people as human shields, that is not a justification for complete and utter destruction. There is a way. We have precise military work that can be done. Because I believe in capturing terrorists who committed heinous acts. This isn't some kind of Pollyannish idea, but I say it and I say it again. There is no good war and there is no bad peace.
mm.
Okay? We have to be warriors for peace. We have to be warriors for folks who can't defend themselves, children who can't get out of harm's way on their own. And I'm talking about all children, and I'm talking about justice. We live in a country where it says liberty and justice for all. It doesn't say liberty and justice for the rich, liberty and justice for some, liberty and justice for the smartest, the most educated, liberty and justice for white folks, curly hair folks, straight hair folks. It says liberty and justice for all. And we have to live by these foundational principles and not allow money, special interest, or corrupted interest to define our stance of what is just and what is right. And that's the way I feel fundamentally. And we can get there if we actually have people in the collective demanding it. Individuals can come out. To your point, folks are cynical. I was talking to somebody earlier. She said, man, how do I know that once I elect you, you're not going to be just like him? You're going to get there, and 2 days later, you're doing backdoor deals because the money's too good. I said, well, man, I just walked away from $20 million for run out. Hopefully that's it. And I said, like you said, Karen, check my receipts. There's nothing in my past that has taken, and that I've done something for this or for
Nah.
that, or I've tried and attempted to do things that I believe would help people at scale. Some things have not worked. I'll be the first to admit. I've tried things that people are like, well, good try. Better go back to the drawing board. But that's the point. We have to keep fighting for what's right and good. I truly, truly believe that. And I won't stop.
Hill Harper for Senate, Hill Harper for Michigan, hillharper.com. Believing Better is the campaign. I reached out to him, just so you know how he got here. I reached out to him on Twitter. That's where I reach out to people. He responded in a DM. I don't know why you were following me, but you were, so that allowed me to DM because I'm not paying for Twitter extra, whatever the hell, the blue thing, and I'm not getting a blue check. I don't care. Elon Musk can go to absolute hell. Might be in it already. I'm not sure. But you responded, and I said, hey, would love to come on. And you were like, sure. And here you are. So again, for me, I can only judge a person by what they do. You know how many people I reach out to and they like wish me in the face virtually? You actually came on. The brother from Maryland, the great governor of Maryland, Wes Moore. I invited him on. He came on. I look at people like, if you're not so full of yourself that you can come talk to millions of Americans who actually are voters, who are engaged. The SiriusXM audience, you can't find anyplace else. I don't know why people be playing in our faces, but this is the audience that's going to get you elected. I promise you. 866-801-8255, because they care about community, this very thing that you're talking about, Hill Harper. As I'm looking at you, you look like Benjamin Buttons, because I know how old you are, and I follow you because you're a Taurus like I am. So I'm always looking at the Tauruses, the rocks of the April 24th. I know you're a May Taurus, a little different.
That's right. April Taurus, I think, are a little different. But,
little different. We may punch you in the face quicker. That's if y'all are nicer. Y'all are more diplomatic. That said,
because the weather was bad. Weather was worse.
Yes, in April, probably it was a little turbulent. But as I've watched your career, first of all, I'm extremely proud at the dignity in which you've carried yourself, and then you survived cancer like no fanfare. You had cancer and then kept moving. Please talk about that. Because I don't know what a diagnosis like that would do for me. Like, I don't know if I would, be as graceful as you've been, but also, what did you do to get you through? What saved you?
Great question. I was very fearful, I'll be honest, because of my paternal history with cancer. So I lost my father to cancer in 2001. His father died of cancer in 1976. His brother, my uncle, who I named my company after, died of cancer before my father. So when I was in college, so cancer runs in my family on the male side in a deep way. And so when I was diagnosed, I was like, wow, I don't want to follow my father's footsteps in this regard. And that was 2010. And I was actually down in Atlanta shooting a film where I was playing Kerry Washington's husband. It was called For Color Girls. And I woke up one morning, I couldn't really swallow, and I knew I wasn't sick. It was like, but something's going on. And luckily, I had a dear friend who was a physician there. It was like, you got to go in for a fine needle biopsy. They did a whole thing, 16 needles into my neck, ultrasound guided. They removed all this tissue. And this is, Karen, very interesting. When I knew something was wrong, because when I first went into the doctor's office, the nurses and all them, let's take pictures, got the treatment. And they said, come back in a few days, we'll have analyzed the cells. I came back and people were like, no one was talking to me. And I was like, oh, something's wrong. So I go into the meeting with the doctor and he's like, yeah, you're going to have surgery relatively quickly. And then once we get in there, we'll be able to see how much it may have spread. The hope is that it's localized and it hasn't gotten into any of your parathyroidism. If there's a cancer you want to get, it's thyroid cancer, because it takes a while to get out into your parathyroid glands. And your glands, as we all know, are the superhighway to the rest of your body. And so what you don't want are the abnormal cells or the cancer cells, as we call them, to get into your glands, and then they start going to your liver, kidney, pancreas. My father died of pancreatic cancer, but he had thyroid cancer first. So, those things can set up shop and be multiplying, and you don't even know it someplace. So, all that's to say, had complete thyroidectomy, so I do not have a thyroid in my body, and I've been cancer free ever since. Thank God for modern medicine. Thank God for my physicians. And, we hope and pray that none of those little nasty cells have set up shop in my liver, my pancreas, and my kidneys. And they're hopefully not multiplying as we speak. Because
No, well, I rebuke
so
that in the name of
I
Jesus.
think we're all right.
No,
I
but
think we're good.
did it change your diet? I mean, you were already fit, and
Yeah.
you look
No,
like
you know
somebody that's
what?
a vegan. You look like you're a vegan, Hill Harper. I feel
No,
like
I'm not.
if I
No,
if I
I'm
had
not a vegan, but I don't do sugar. I mean, I do sometimes. I'm not like super like, oh, never sugar, but I tend not to eat a lot of sugar, and that includes, a lot of fruit. Fruit has a lot of sugar. So I try to stay away from sugar, and I try to stay away from a lot of the carbs and gluten type of things. And so other than that, I eat meat, all types of them, because some friends I have that are pescatarian, some are they won't eat beef. I eat meat and different things, but I'm more of a meat, fat, vegetable eater. But healthy fats like nuts, fats from nuts and coconut oil and stuff, olive oil, stuff like that, more so than fried food. So I don't really do
okay.
fried foods, and I don't do sugar.
I have
And
so much I want to talk with you about. Our paths crossed when you did Letters to a Young Brother, Manifest Your Destiny. And you followed that with a series of letters, books, to incarcerated brothers, to women. You even had a conversation between black men and black women before we were even in this culture war that we're in now. I,
yes.
I feel like there's a story arc leading to this run for Senate that goes back to that. So I want to start there, the motivation to write these books.
Wow. Well, I mean, the motivation to write the books is the same motivation that I had to your point, that led to me running for the US Senate, as well as honestly led to me deciding to become an actor coming out of Harvard Law School and the Kennedy School of Government. At my North Star has always been this idea of positive impact and legacy. And I didn't get that. I can't take credit for getting that. I got that from my grandfathers. I'm named after both grandfathers. My grandfather, my mother's side, his name was Harold Hill, Doc Hill, they called him. He had a pharmacy in Seneca, South Carolina, called Piedmont Pharmacy, that served the Black community during Jim Crow in South Carolina. And certainly after the Civil Rights Act was passed, and so-called Jim Crow was ended. I was born after that, and summers I would spend there reading comic books in his pharmacy, seeing him serve people that brought in sacks of potatoes and chickens for prescription medicine. And, he was Obamacare before Obamacare, for our community. And I saw that service, and he always told me, he said, the only reason you're here is to help other folks. If you have a blessing, that means you've just been gifted a blessing to pass through you. And he was resolute in that idea. And I think that seeped into me somehow. And then my grandfather, my father's side, again, a physician serving the community, this time another small town in Iowa. I was born in Iowa. He had an 88-acre farm outside of Fort Madison, Iowa, and he was a doctor there, and that was a prison town. Actually, Fort Madison is on the Mississippi River in the southeast corner of Iowa, and I lived there first number of years of my life. My father was from there, and those two men really. I just think that there's something that shaped me. That I want to have positive impact and legacy. Now, I didn't do it through medicine, um, but coming out of grad school, I decided I wanted to be like Harry Belafonte and Sidney Poitier and do that type of same positive impact through the representation of Black men and who we are and what we look like. And then fast forward to the books, I felt that there was a platform that was offered to me through the acting, but you go around and I didn't feel that there were enough motivational materials for our young men out there. And so I decided to write that first book. And actually, Karen, I thought I'd only write one book, Letters to a Young Brother, Manifest Your Destiny. I just wrote that book because I felt there was a dearth of motivational books for young men, particularly in a state when 3 out of 4 of our young men are being raised by single moms. We needed who may need or want some type of male voice and male leadership. And I had gotten that as a proxy through books. So I felt like if I could write the right book, other young men could get that. Okay.
Just going through that Brown, Harvard law, you met President Obama, soon to become President Obama while at Harvard playing basketball there. As I'm going through your bio, your dad was a psychiatrist, your mom was also a PhD. She had a doctorate. You're raised in a household with these. Your mom is an author. I'm looking at you as like the modern day Cosby's, but to the 10th power. And so I'm just like, I've been saying this on the airways. People who come from abundance, who understand who they are can better serve humanity because you're not taking. You know what it feels like to have, so you're not in it to take because you don't need the step up. Do you know what I'm saying? I feel like we should side eye people who come into a space a little broken. And maybe that's wrong. I don't know, but I just rather be led by somebody that has abundance in their background.
Okay, well, I hear you on that. I would say it a little bit differently. I would talk about, and the way I talk about it is, um, I believe the best leaders come at it from a thriving mindset as opposed to a surviving mindset. I make a joke about the Destiny Child song, I'm a Survivor, in some of my speeches. And I say, forget that song. I hate that song because it's such a low level to aspire to. Let's not aspire to survive. Let's aspire to thrive. And if we're not thriving, let's figure out what it's going to take to actually get us to thrive and get us there. And so when I think about that, and then the other piece is about the brokenness. I think we're all broken in different ways. The question is, can we figure out new solutions and innovative solutions to repair the brokenness? Because what's true to me and what's become very clear to me in my experience is that hurt people hurt people. But here's the beautiful flip of that. Healed people can heal people. And so that is a beautiful idea that we can share blessings and share innovation and share ideas around creating solutions if we're willing to listen to each other, collectively do the work together, and we can get there. And that's ultimately the concept that I'm building my campaign on, this idea of collective work. At the end of all my talks, I say, together we rise. And I really mean that. We're not going to rise individually. We don't need to pick winners and losers. Together we rise. And if we actually understand what that means and then do the work to make it so, we will win. But the problem is most of us get distracted, diluted, co-opted by folks who are attempting to divide for their own profit and self-motive. And that's what's happened to our broken political system now.
Is it fixable? We're talking with Hill Harper. If you're in Michigan, you have somebody that wants your vote. The number here is 866-801-8255. If you're in Michigan, here's your chance. You got Hill Harper. He wants to be in the Senate. He wants to represent the great state of Michigan. I agree with everything you're saying. It is everyday Kwanzaa on the Karen Hunter Show. We build on Ujima, today's Umoja, because yes, we go further together. If you want to go along, you can go fast. Alone, you can go fast. Like all of those things. But also realize we're living in a world that's so cynical and so divided that sounds so corny, Hill Harper, that people don't even believe it's true. You know what I'm saying? And so you got to show them. You got to show them. So we've been here 9 years. Show and prove. Look at the receipts. For you, though, coming into the political realm, having built businesses, having survived cancer, you've gone through some things many of us can't even imagine. Single father adopting a child. Like, what the hell? Changing diapers and stuff, man. What are you doing? You know what I'm saying? And let's just not even talk about your acting career. Why did you why do this? You don't have to do this. You can
No,
fund
I don't.
something. Why?
You know, you if you stop for a second and you look around your communities, I'll just give you an example. I'm here. I live in Detroit. I'm talking to you from my house in Detroit right now. And when I get off I-75 here in Detroit to go home, I exit. I get to a street called Oakland. I take a right. This is the north end of Detroit. Take a right, and I get to a corner of Oakland and Owen on the north end of Detroit. And I'm almost in tears every time I'm there because to my left is a bombed out, boarded up building that used to be a thriving business. Across the street, catty corner, is a vacant lot that used to have a building that they just tore down. To my right is a faded sign that says Eli's Produce, and that building is boarded up. It's got a tree growing through the middle. It's gone. And then across the street is a liquor store where most people who go there are on SNAP government assistance. They're single parents, they're working people, and all they can buy in there with their government assistance is Funyuns, Fago, or Verner's through a 3-inch piece of plexiglass. And we're collectively acting as if that's okay. And it's not okay. And in the same area, the same school district, or even up the same freeway, or 94, 96, you get to Pontiac, you get to Flint, you get to Saginaw. You go across the state to Benton Harbor and Muskegon, or go to certain parts of Kalamazoo, and the kids, the children, the public school children are to 70 to 90% are 3 to 4 grades below reading. And if you can't read, you can't learn. And we're acting as if that's okay. And I can't act as if that's okay, even though I'm an actor by my original profession. None of this is okay to me. And when you start to realize and I know you know this already, but I just want to explain this to the listeners. Once you start pulling back the onion on what's happened to our federal government, you start to see that money, lobbies, corporate interest, special interest have taken over our federal representation, and that individual people, the people that live near Oakland and Owen and Eli's Produce, the people that are sending their kids to public school, these folks are unrepresented. And that's by both parties. That is by both the D and the R, because money controls everything right now in our political system. And I care too much about our democracy, and I care too much about the people to allow that to happen. Because if good people don't start running for office, and we just literally sit back and say, it's such a despicable business, it's so nasty and dirty, I'm not going to get involved. We're going to literally see the destruction of our democracy and the unrepresentation of people that are not in the top 1%. And that's literally where we are. And that's what I'm running to attempt to fix and represent a new type of leadership that gets rid of money interest. We need to end. I mean, let's give you some examples. I just want to give you some examples so it doesn't feel like I'm talking in these big generalities. Did you know your congressional members are allowed to legally insider trade? Meaning the same people that supposedly represent us can do an appropriations to Lockheed, Raytheon, Northrop Grumman, Boeing, doesn't matter, publicly traded companies, and buy that stock when they do that. Do you think that's the good fiduciary of your taxpayer dollars? That's one. And we can go through a list of things that happen. Folks are tired of backdoor deals. They're tired of the divisiveness that we see in social media as well as the regular cable news. I mean, we just need real solutions and common sense representation, and that's the voice I'm trying to offer, and that's why so many people are against me.
Yeah, I mean it's wild, right? Hill Harper has nothing to lose. He's running for the Senate, and I think about you like you don't have to live in these places. You could live in Hollywood, overlooking something. You don't have to be in the community. You don't have to live among people. regular ass people, which you live around regular ass people, which is important, I think, you know, to
Yes.
be in the community. I'm looking at your campaign. It's red and blue. I see what you're
Yeah.
doing. I see you. I
Okay.
see
You
you.
see, you see what
I
we're
see
trying to
you.
do
I see
there?
you.
Okay.
E pluribus unum. I see you. I see you.
Yeah,
Is it
I don't, I'll
resonating?
just make a point. I look back to Dr. King when he did that march from Selma to Montgomery. And if you remember, if you look at any pictures, just look it up, y'all. So many people had American flags. And when they got to the Capitol steps, they wanted the Confederate looking flag to come down and they wanted that American flag to go up. And that was the idea, right? And now, if you see an American flag on the back of a pickup truck, who do you think is driving it, right? There is a whole group of people that have co-opted the idea of freedom, co-opted liberty, co-opted the definition of a patriot, co-opted the flag. When we think about it, no, this is our country for liberty and justice for all. The founding documents were written by people who weren't professional politicians. Folks forget that. They all had other jobs. The federal government isn't supposed to be this institution where you have the professional political class making backdoor deals with lobbyists and then trading stock based off those backdoor deals because their whole career, they're career politicians, and you cannot beat them because they die in office, right? You just can't beat an incumbent because there's so much money. And Citizens United in 2011, that verdict was
Yes.
the thing that broke the floodgates and allowed corporate money and dark money, meaning unaccounted for money, to flood into our political system. And it truly has caused a cascade of the downfall of our democracy. And I'm not going to give away the flag. I'm not going to let the Proud Boys have the flag. No, no, no.
I
But
love it.
my
I love it.
ancestors, I'm a descendant of slaves. We built this country. Immigrants built this country. And Proud Boys, you can't have the flag. We're grabbing the flag back. We're grabbing back freedom. We're grabbing back liberty. And we're actually going to truly represent everybody, all people, including whether you got an R next to your name or a D. I want to represent you.
Okay, you sounded very politician-y right now. Hill Harper's here.
Populist. I
Sounded like
mean, this is
you
about
got that.
populism.
I know. I feel what you're saying. I'm also questioning. I'm not questioning you because you have been in this long enough to have seen your character. You know,
Yes.
character shows. And let me apologize because I did sound elitist when I was talking. I was thinking about two people in particular who have been handpicked as leaders who come from a lack mentality, and as a result, they grab every dollar they can get their hands on and get in front of every camera. That's not you. So I got to get out of my bag. I apologize. I don't mean that
Okay.
people who
I
don't have
just love
money
having a
shouldn't lead.
conversation with you because I'm about
Yeah.
solutions. I'm
Yeah.
not about name calling and finger pointing.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
doesn't matter where you're from or who you are. If you want to solve problems, let's do it together.
Come on. All right. So, was there a Paul to Damascus moment for you? Was there a thing that was it Trump being elected? What was it that made Hill Harper say, you know what, this check I'm getting from this doctor show? It's just like
Please
let me
don't make
come
me
into
think
this
about that, please.
let me come into this
No.
mess in Washington
Um,
and join the ranks and represent my people. What was that moment?
there was a very micro moment when I was driving my son to school. He's in second grade, and this was when he was in first grade, where he said, "Daddy, I don't want to go to school." I was like, "Why?" I said, "You like school?" He said, "Oh, I think they're going to shoot me." I said, "Shoot you?" Yeah, we have to do these drills and stuff. They say they're going to come in and then we have to do this. And I really said to myself, I said, if there's one job of a parent is to protect your child's health and safety, and that includes their mental health. And in that moment, I realized, this is after the MSU shooting or Aurora or Nashville, and we can just go on and on and on. And you say to yourself, wow, we've allowed the NRA and the gun lobby to scare so many of our leaders to say, hey, unless you just, Democrats, you can kind of performatively act like you're going to do something and just say, red flag laws, make it look like you got a victory, but you best not call for reclassification of semi-automatic weapons and say we're going to call them weapons of mass murder and ban them. Ooh, you better not do a gun buyback program. Ooh, no, no, you bet. better not do full scale background checks with multi week waiting period. No. You're messing with our money if you start doing that. We've allowed them to control so much so that it dictates policy. And we'd rather let folks talk about the Second Amendment than about protecting second graders. And I can't do that. And so I said, you know what? So who's fighting for my son? And that's what I realized. I said, nobody. Who's fighting for his mental health? Who's fighting for his physical health? And so that's when I said, I have to do more. And then I remembered Harry Belafonte's words in my ear because I had the chance to do a talk with him at one point, and we had exchanged information and got a chance to talk on a few occasions. And he always said, Hill, what are you doing? You got to do more. Being on that show, that's not enough. Doing this is not enough. Oh, yeah, you wrote those books. Oh, you got a foundation. That's not enough. What are you doing? You got to do more. And I realized this is my more moment. This is my service moment. When you think about how powerful the United States Senate is and the fact that they ostensibly control $6.2 trillion, our federal budget every year, it's like $6 billion a day. When you think about how that entity and how powerful that entity is, the people, my son, community members, the small nonprofit, the person who wants to reopen Eli's Produce but can't get a loan, they all need a voice in this process. And they don't have one. And I'm fighting to be that voice. And yeah, walking away from a job that was, um, paid a lot. But what difference does money make if you're not making a difference? That's just making money for myself. And what are you going to do with that money when you're gone? When I'm gone, I want to serve, and that's the point. It's like, and I was in church yesterday, and the pastor said, Pastor Kinlock here in Detroit said, there comes a point in time when you have to choose who you're going to serve, and it's not a person. It's like, you're going to serve the money, or you're going to serve this. You're going to serve, and I want to serve the people.